everybody, and welcome back. This is SaberX coming to you live with another review for the Beasts of the Mesozoic Tyrannosaur series, and today we are going to be looking at the one, the only, Yutyrannus huali, by Creative Beast Studio and David Silva. So here we are. There it is. And before we take a look at this incredible old dinosaur action figure, let's take a look at the packaging for it. Shall we? Moving this bad boy off to the side, like so. We are greeted by the package art by Shannon Beaumont for the Beasts of the Mesozoic Yutyrannus. And it is incredible. And inside, as always, you can find the cardboard diorama backing, which you can take out and place behind the figure if you want for a dramatic backdrop. And of course, on the back you get your customary bits of information regarding the actual dinosaur itself, along with the obligatory product shots of the other tyrannosaurs in Wave 1 of the series. So, there you have that. And of course, inside the packaging, you also get, of course, along with the figure, this incredible collector's card, done, of course, by Shannon Beaumont. Now, unfortunately, this version is somewhat pixelated due to a manufacturing error, but if you have problems with this, you can just contact David Silva, the creator of the toy line, on Facebook, and he will issue replacement cards right away, or at least as soon as he can, because, yeah, sometimes, things get backlogged. So, in addition to that, you also, of course, get the ever-important instructions for dealing with your Yutyrannus, which I will show you right now. So, of course, as with most of the Beasts of the Mesozoic Tyrannosaurs, you have to heat up the tail with the hairdryer or hot water to appropriately adhere it to the ball joint in the back of the hips. This is very important. Do not fail to read these instructions, otherwise you will get frustrated and potentially break your figure. Not good. And beyond this, it comes with other accessories, including a stand, which looks like a rocky outcropping, not to mention spare sets of feet, and of course, instructions on how to properly display this figure. And of course, be sure to listen to them, because for some of these poses that you can pull off with this particular dinosaur, you do not want to stand it on 1 foot long term. It will cause the socket joints inside the feet to warp. So, yeah, in addition to the Yutyrannus itself, we also have its display base, which is this beautiful piece of rock right here. Now, this is actually 2 pieces, and you actually have a T-joint right here you can take out. This one's kind of stuck, but if you gently wedge this out, like so, again, mine is pretty tight, but if you take that out like so, you can actually display this as a little extra piece along with the figure. Or if you want to reattach it, you can. And interestingly, this piece is actually identical to that on the 1/18th scale Tyrannosaurus Rex in regards to how it was constructed. It is the same mold as 1/2 of the T-Rex base. But honestly, it works. It works very, very well for it works very, very, very well for this figure. And of course, you can re-adhere the rocks like so. But again, really, really tight. So be very careful without that. Be very careful about that, otherwise you're going to end up breaking your display base. So, along with the display base itself, as I will show you, you also get spare pairs of legs and feet. So, taking that into account, you also get spare legs with standing feet and sets of toes, like this pair of running toes and this pair of mid-stride toes. And as you can see, I actually did replace one of these sets of feet like so. But yeah, it's very simple to put them on. You just have to heat them up with a hairdryer. But yeah, this is what the main feet look like. And if you look closely at the bottom of the feet, you'll see that the innermost toe for each foot has two joints. So 1, 2. You have to line those up depending on what feet they're on. They always, the inner toe always has two joints on the foot. So if it's got two joints on the right side, it's for the right foot. If it's got two joints on the left side, it's for the left foot. You don't want to get your feet confused. But yeah, you can also remove the legs as you will, and I will show you exactly how you do that in just a minute after we look at the articulation for this incredible Tyrannosaur. So, picking up the figure itself, moving this rock up to the side, let's take a look at this incredible Yutyrannus. So, in regards to the paint scheme, it is based off a Steller's sea eagle, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, living bird of prey in the world. And it's actually so great that I actually did a painting based off this Yutyrannus as a bit of fan art for the Beasts of the Mesozoic toy line, which I will pause this video for a moment to show you here. Now getting back to the articulation and color of this particular dinosaur, it's very, very well done. There is a little bit of, oh, how do I describe this? Inconsistency with some aspects of the paint, but I really don't mind that very much. I figure that if you want to, you can actually go over it with a very, very light sepia wash, or possibly a little bit of bone white in regards to paints like the AV Vallejo paint. And yeah, you can basically tone that a little bit darker if you so choose to. So yeah, a little bit of very fine sepia wash that's very low grade might be of interest to you if you feel it is appropriate. I personally do not. I like this because it gives my figure a bit of individuality, but if you choose to, you can darken the feathers on the tail a little bit if you want to. But I just love the colors on this. The yellows, the orange, the red. It just looks so realistic because the color scheme is done from life. And you can't get more realistic than that. Now, articulation-wise, our Yutyrannus has beautiful articulation. He can move his head left like so, about that much, right like so, about this much. You can move it up about this far, down about this far, and you might be able to get more motion out of it if you were to take this off, but I do not. I absolutely do not. A big no-no on this. I do not recommend loosening this hood because it is attached to the head by way of a peg and glue back here on the top. So, big no-no unless you want to damage your figure. Yeah, but yeah, the jaws can open and close like so. And the tongue is technically posable, but it's just so small it's not really worth bothering with in regards to posing this tongue. But yeah, I love the teeth on this. Absolutely spooky. Now mine, his mouth does not, his lips do not entirely cover his teeth, but I feel it makes it look a little more like a grizzly bear baring its teeth, where it's got that vicious pout going on, where it's really angry. So I like to think that this guy, this particular Yutyrannus, had something going on with his lips where he now has the ability to permanently bare his teeth and look a little more menacing. Now, the arms also have some great articulation. They can't, well, technically they can do a full 360 at the shoulder. They can go out about that far, in about that far. The elbows can move to about here and here. The wrists can technically pronate, but you really don't want to do that because it's not realistic. It's more realistic to have the palms faced inwards toward each other, but you do get some wrist movement. And he can actually wiggle his wrists this far forward and this far back, and about this much forward and back in regards to in and out. Yeah, it's on ball joints, but there's no hinge or anything here on the wrist, so yeah, you're not going to get much movement out of the hands, but that really isn't going to matter very much because the arms more than make up for it. Yeah, and there's no real swivel here at the elbow because of the way the elbows are done either. So a little bit more limited in regards to what it can do at the elbow, but again, the shoulders can make up for this pretty well. And I just want to say I absolutely love these claws on the hand. Most people think tyrannosaurs have small two-fingered hands. This is not one of those tyrannosaurs that does. This is an earlier tyrannosaur, and it was in full control in regards to its front limb weaponry. Very, very nasty set of claws on the hands. Now, the legs also move about this far forward in mine, and about this far back. Mine have very tight joints at the legs, so I'm not going to really mess with that too much. I might go back in and heat them up with a hairdryer to see if I can get a little more mobility out of them. But part of the reason they do not move much further than that, honestly, I think is because this torso piece gets in the way a little bit. But the torso can actually go up and down about that far, and it can also go right and left about that much. So more up and down movement than side to side, but beyond that, the knees also move, and mine again are very tight on this one, but yeah, he's got some good mobility in his legs, if not a little tight. I did loosen them up with a hairdryer, so they're much better now than they were before. And if you'll notice, he does have pegs, so you can stand him up, yeah, on his base. But moving back to the tail also has joints that allow it to go side to side, like this, and this. And then he can also, and of course his tail popped off again. But thankfully, because I had heated it up with a hairdryer, went back on. But yeah, he can go down about that far with his tail, this far down at the base. And again, yeah, just a lot of movement you can get out of it. And if you really want to, he also has a wire in his tail, but these feathers on the end kind of get in the way of it doing more than up and down movement. And even then, I don't really mess with that tail very much because I really don't need to. Yeah, he's fine as is in regards to how his tail looks at the tip. You can mess around with it if you want, but I really don't feel a need to with mine. Now, in regards to the legs, here's where things get interesting. So, you can actually pop out these static standing legs, and mine are pretty tight, so takes a little bit of work to get them out. But you can also replace those legs with these more mobile posing legs. And again, this is kind of tight, so there we go. But there you have it. So here he is with one of his posing legs, and if I bend his knee up a little bit like that, you can see he's got some great mobility in that leg as well. The ankle in this on these posing legs goes back about that far, goes forward about this far, and the feet can go that far forward, that far back, and they have, of course, swivel from side to side. So you can really do some dynamic poses if you want with this. Now, for when you do more dynamic poses for the Yutyrannus, you can actually peg him to the base, like so, and mine is pretty darn tight in regards to its joints, so he stays on there very, very well. And you can have him posed any way you want. In this case, let's pose him like this. Have him running. And doesn't he look incredible? Yeah, so absolutely, absolutely glorious in regards to the other tyrannosaurs. Yeah, in regards to all those poses, just absolutely fantastic. Now, Yutyrannus is one of the most interesting of all the tyrannosaurs. Yeah, just because this is the largest feathered tyrannosaur we have direct evidence for feathers on. Now, there may have been some that could have been larger, but I don't think feathers would have been very beneficial to a much larger dinosaur, because the larger you get, the more body heat you retain, and you need to be less heavily feathered or less heavily furred, depending on what type of animal you are, in order to shed the excess heat. And if it gets too hot, you'll basically cook in your own skin. Ugh. But Yutyrannus needed these feathers because it lived in a semi-arid, seasonally semi-arid, often very cold environment. Specifically, this dinosaur was part of the Jehol biota in China, specifically part of the Yixian formation. And this particular dinosaur would have seen snow from time to time, because during the early Cretaceous, 125 million years ago, when Yutyrannus was alive, it would have, China was in a more northernly area in regards to latitude, so it would have probably seen snow fairly frequently, and definitely would have experienced cold snaps, because on average the highest temperature for the Yixian formation was about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so not exactly a warm climate. So Yutyrannus probably was at a very strong advantage during a lot of the year where it had to be very well insulated against the cold. Now, the other interesting thing about Yutyrannus is that we know it was a social animal, because not just one Yutyrannus has been found, but 3, and they were all found together. 2 adults and a juvenile. Now, this is an animal that can grow to about 30 feet long, and it weighs a bit more than a ton. So about the same size as an average Allosaurus, which was a much earlier predator from the Jurassic. So it's very likely that pack hunting was something that Yutyrannus did in order to take down prey that was both as large as, if not larger than itself. And there are some sauropods known from the formation, such as Dongbei Titan. But yeah, it would have needed to live in social groups if it was going to survive effectively in such an environment where sauropods, hadrosauroids, and other animals would have been living with it. This was the apex predator of the region, and apex predators often do much better in social groups than they do in living solitary lives, at least in some circumstances. But yeah, Yutyrannus is not a dinosaur you would want to run into 125 million years ago. And a lot of the other smaller dinosaurs, like Psittacosaurus, D-Long, Genuine-Long, and Microraptor, wouldn't have want to run into it either, because this animal would have snapped them up and gulped them down in a couple of quick bites. It was that much larger than any of those were. Yeah, just an incredible dinosaur, and just such a unique animal. I am really glad that David brought this animal to the toy line. Now, in regards to size compared to the other tyrannosaurs, yeah, this is fairly average size for the large tyrannosaurs. So, yeah, not exactly huge, but not small either. And, yeah, for comparison, if you'll bear with me for a moment, I will show you exactly how it scales to some of the other tyrannosaurs. So, if you'll bear with me. So, let's take a look at how Yutyrannus compares in size to some of the other 1/18th scale tyrannosaurs. So, here we have it with little Guanlong Wukai. And as you can see, Guanlong is not exactly big. But, yeah, this would be a 10-foot animal, while Yutyrannus is a 30-foot animal. So, much, much bigger compared to Guanlong. If these animals had actually lived together at the same time, which they do not, I could definitely see little Guanlong being like the coyote of the environment, while Yutyrannus would have been more like a lion. So, yeah, very, very drastic size comparison difference there. Now, here it is compared to the juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is more along the lines of a 21-foot to 22-foot animal, And again, Yutyrannus is a little bit longer and a little bit taller. So, yeah, very, very noticeable difference. But even more noticeable, of course, is the difference between Yutyrannus and, of course, its later relative, the adult Tyrannosaurus rex. So, here you have them together. As you can see, there is really no comparison. No comparison at all between a Tyrannosaurus rex and a Yutyrannus. Yutyrannus is big, but T-Rex is way bigger, way heavier, and just absolutely massive. I mean, T-Rex is probably one of the most massive, if not the most massive carnivore of all time. On average, Tyrannosaurus weighed between 5 to 8 tons, with a maximum of a 10-ton weight that we know of. Could have even been as heavy as 15 tons in the largest specimens, while the largest Yutyrannus specimens we have were about 1.5, maybe even 2 tons in weight and about 30 feet long. Compare that to a 43-foot Tyrannosaurus rex, and there is no comparison. Just absolutely insane difference between the two. So think about that how you will, because that is to scale. Now, in regards to this incredible Yutyrannus figure, it is definitely one of the more expensive, not super expensive like T-Rex is, but definitely one of the more pricey figures for the beasts of the Mesozoic Tyrannosaur series. I got this via pre-order on BackerKit, but it's a little bit over $80 on Creative Beast Studio and Big Bad Toy Store, and Everything Dinosaur, for anyone living abroad. But yeah, it is definitely worth the price if you have the budget for it. If you save up and you decide you want to get a unique Tyrannosaur, this is definitely one of the coolest ones to get. Arguably, this is my favorite, along with T-Rex, for Wave 1 of the Tyrannosaur series. I can't lie, it really is. It is impressive in all regards. And there are going to be a couple of others about this size for Wave 2, like Yutyrannus and Dryptosaurus, that will also be in this same size range. So that gives you an idea of what to expect in regards to other Tyrannosaurs in the line that will be coming out. But yeah, Yutyrannus is definitely the first of these moderate-sized Tyrannosaurs that we will see. And it just gives me a real sense of anticipation and excitement for what is to come. It's just absolutely fabulous, and I can't recommend it enough. So I definitely think that if this figure is to your interest, go get it. And sometimes you deserve to treat yourself to something nice. So anyway, this is SaberX signing off, saying, you're never too old to play with toys. Be a toy nerd, be proud of it. Thank you, have a good day, and see you next time. Bye-bye.